Hello everyone, and welcome to week 6 of English 120. So this week, please begin as usual by watching this lecture. Last week, it turns out only 5 of you watched the lecture. It was a short lecture, but I can assure you that if you do not watch the lectures, you will not pass this class. The lectures are meant as a time when I give instruction, like I would if you were in the classroom, and they are a required part of this class. So if you don't do the lectures, you are missing the core information that I'll be talking about. So for example, this week, I'm going to be introducing your next big assignment, and it's the annotated bibliography. It's very specific how I'd like you to format this document, and if you do not watch the lecture, you will not be able to do so. So I know that I'm speaking to the choir because you guys are actually watching the lecture if you're getting this message, and I appreciate that. Thank you for logging in. But I want to make sure that you consistently remember to log in every Monday and watch the lecture so you know what's due during the week. So this week, you're going to begin working on your annotated bibliography, and I'll talk more about that in detail in a second. That's going to be due at the end of next week. You're also going to begin reading The Log of the Snark by Charmian Kittredge London. This book is what we're going to be reading for the rest of the semester. You're going to start by reading a very small section, the beginning, found on pages 9 through 33. Then you're going to complete Journal 1, which has questions about that section of the Log of the Snark. But I'm also going to be introducing the book to you and talking a little bit about who Charmian Kittredge London is. You're also going to need to complete one of the most important online research modules we're going to do this semester, and that is the module number 6, which is called MLA formatting. Let's start by talking about your module on MLA formatting. As usual, this will be due by Thursday of this week, so you must complete it by Thursday this week. Please click through the content. It's indented under week 6. It begins with an excerpt talking about what documentation of sources is. And then it gives you a reading from our Bedford researcher. Chapter 20 is the chapter that's all about MLA formatting. And you're going to need to know how to do MLA formatting for the annotated bibliography project, which will be due at the end of next week. So really important to pay attention this week. Next section is a video, which is all about MLA style, the new edition, the 8th edition. And then there's a page that outlines Al Purdue's intro to the MLA 8th edition, so detailed information about how to do MLA formatting. Then there's a section on the difference between writing a bibliography and writing a works cited. Now, a bibliography and a works cited are very different, and both are due as part of your research paper at the end of this course. So please make sure you read through that and you really pay attention to the differences. I'll be going into that more, but you need to get that work done this week in the module. Also, there's a really important description of what an annotated bibliography is, which is different from what a bibliography and a works cited is. An annotated bibliography will be explained on this page that you're going to read about, but remember, for the assignment, you want to refer to the details that I give you in my explanation in this lecture. Also, the details are listed under the assignment. You're also going to watch one of my favorite videos. It's called How to Cite a Cereal Box. And this video takes you through how to cite just about anything using MLA formatting. And it's really useful as a way to understand what MLA formatting is. It's basically just figuring out addresses for everything so that if your reader wants to find the thing that you're quoting in your book, in your essay, they can find exactly where it is. And as usual, please take the quiz at the end of completing all of this work. Your quiz is due on Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Please remember you only get 2 chances to take that to take that quiz, okay? So the next stage in your research project is the annotated bibliography. Your annotated bibliography will be due at the end of the end of week 7. Sorry, that's confusing. Not the end of this week, but the end of next week on March 3rd. So what is an annotated bibliography? An annotated bibliography is a list of citations to books, articles, and documents. Each citation is followed by a brief, usually 150 words, descriptive and evaluative paragraph, the annotation. The purpose of the annotation is to inform the reader of the relevance, accuracy, and quality of the sources cited. So, in order to create an annotated bibliography, you want to begin by, now that you guys have chosen your research topic and turned in your topic form, you're going to now locate and record citations to books, periodicals, and documents that may contain useful information and ideas about your topic. You're going to briefly examine and review the actual items, and then choose those works that provide a variety of perspectives on your topic. You want to cite the book, article, or document using MLA formatting, which is our appropriate style. Then you're going to write a concise annotation that summarizes the central theme and scope of the book or article. You're going to include one or more sentences that evaluate the authority or background of the author. Why is the author of this text an expert in this area? Did they go to a certain college? Did they already publish books in this area? Have they worked in the industry for years? Then you want to also comment on the intended audience. Who is this written for? Is this for an academic audience, or is this for the general public? I want you to compare and contrast this work with another that you've cited, or explain how this work illuminates your bibliography topic, your topic that you've chosen to write this. You also want to provide a summary that explains exactly what this text is about. So how do you evaluate a source? You begin by analyzing the author. So what are the author's credentials? What's their institutional affiliation, where he or she works as a professor? Or their educational background, or their past writings or experience. Is the book or article written on a topic in the author's area of expertise? You can use the various Who's Who publications for the U.S. and other countries and for specific subjects, and the biographical information located in the publications itself to help determine the author's affiliation and credentials. Remember, all of the sources that you find that you're going to list in your bibliography must be from the library. You cannot list any sources that you find by just Googling. There's more details here about how to evaluate the author. These are all listed on the Cornell University Guide for Annotated Bibliographies that you're going to be looking at this week in your module. You want to look at the date of publication of the work that you're looking at. When was the source published? This date is often located on the face of the title page below the name of the publisher. If it's not there, look for the copyright date on the reverse of the title page. On web pages, the date of their last revision is usually at the bottom of the home page, sometimes every page. Is the source current or out of date for your topic? Topic areas of continuing and rapid development, such as the sciences, demand more current information. On the other hand, topics in the humanities often require material that was written many years ago. At the other extreme, some news sources on the web now note the hour and minute that articles are posted on their site. Now remember, you are not going to be using news sources for your bibliography, your annotated bibliography, but it's important to know where to find the information of the date. I want you to evaluate which, is your book that you're looking at a first edition, or is it a further edition? And that indicates the source has been revised and updated to reflect changes in knowledge, including omissions, and harmonize with the intended reader's needs. Also, many printings or editions may indicate that the work has become a standard source in the area and is reliable. If you're using a web source, do the pages indicate revision dates? Publisher. You should note the publisher. If the source is published by a university press, it's likely to be scholarly, and that means it's peer-reviewed. It's peer-reviewed. That means other scholars in the field have reviewed it and accepted it as something that is real research. Although the fact that the publisher is reputable does not necessarily guarantee the quality of the work, it does show that the publisher has high regard for the source being published. You should include, if this is a work in a journal, you should look and know if the title of the journal is a popular or scholarly journal. This distinction is important because it indicates the different levels of complexity in conveying ideas. If you need help in determining the type of journal, see Distinguishing Scholars from Non-Scholarly Periodicals. This is an article for you to look at. Or you may wish to check your journal title in the latest edition of Katz magazines for libraries. And this tells you where it is. This is near the reference desk in our library. This will give you a brief evaluative description of the journal. So you want to do a content analysis. So having made an initial appraisal, you should now examine the body of the source. Read the preface to determine the author's intentions for the book. Scan the table of contents and the index to get a broad overview of the material it covers. Note whether bibliographies are included. Read the chapters that specifically address your topic. Reading the article abstract and scanning the table of contents of a journal or magazine issue is also useful. As with books, the presence and quality of a bibliography at the end of the article may reflect the care with which the authors have prepared their works. These also give you clues as to where to find other text. The bibliography, you can mine that for other related texts that you can also use. You want to think about the intended audience. What type of audience is the author addressing? Is the publication aimed at a specialized or general audience? Is the source too elementary, too technical, too advanced, or just right for your needs? And then I want you to use objective reasoning to think about the actual content. Is the information covered fact, opinion, or propaganda? It is not always easy to separate fact from opinion. Facts are usually verified. Opinions, though they may be based on factual information, evolve from the interpretation of facts. Skilled writers can make you think that their interpretation are facts. Does the information appear to be valid and well researched, or is it questionable and unsupported by evidence? Assumptions should be reasonable. Note errors or omissions. Are the ideas and arguments advanced more or less in line with other works that you've read on the same topic? The more radically an author departs from the views of others in the same field, the more carefully and critically you should scrutinize his or her ideas. Is the author's point of view objective and impartial? Is the language free of emotion-arousing words and bias? And then I want you to think about coverage. Does the work update other sources, substantiate other materials that you've read, or add new information? Does it extensively or marginally cover your topic? You should explore enough sources to obtain a variety of viewpoints, and that should be represented in your annotated bibliography. Is the material primary or secondary in nature? Primary sources are the raw material of the research process. Secondary sources are based on primary sources. For example, if you were researching Konrad Adenauer's role in rebuilding West Germany after World War II, Adenauer's own writings would be one of primary sources available on this topic. Others might include relevant government documents and contemporary German newspaper articles. Scholars use this primary material to help generate historical interpretations. A secondary source, in a secondary source. Books, encyclopedia articles, and scholarly journal articles about Adenauer's role are considered secondary sources. In the sciences, journal articles and conference proceedings written by experimenters reporting the results of their research are primary documents. Choose both primary and secondary sources when you have the opportunity. You want to look at the writing style. Is the publication organized logically? Are the main points clearly presented? Do you find the text easy to read, or is it stilted or choppy? Is the author's argument repetitive? Evaluative reviews. You want to locate critical reviews of the book in a reviewing source, such as the articles and full text, some in advanced search, Book Review Index, Book Review Digest, and ProQuest Research Library. Is the review positive? Is the book under review considered a valuable contribution to the field? Does the reviewer mention other books that might be better? If so, locate these sources for more information on your topic. Do the various reviewers agree on the value or attributes of the book, or has it aroused controversy among the critics? For websites, consider consulting this evaluation source from UC Berkeley. All right, here's a sample annotation for what I would like you to think about in regards to creating your annotated bibliography. So as you can see, the first step in creating an annotated bibliography is going to the library and doing extensive research. That's why you have 2 weeks to work on this. You've already found some sources when you were creating your project topic form. You can use some of those, but I'd like you to continue to explore to find more sources and then to create annotations for each of those sources. So sample annotation begins with a MLA formatted citation. Here you see the last name and the first name of the author. This is in this case, this was a multi-authored text, and you see that Linda Waite was the first person listed, and so her name goes first, and it's followed by so it's Waite, last name, comma, first name Linda, J is her middle initial, period, and then comma. Et al. Means, period, that means that there are a list of other names. You do not put that if it's a single authored text. And then this is the name of the article, Non-Family Living and the Erosion of Traditional Family Orientations Among Young Adults. There's a period at the end of that, and the quotation ends the title of the article title. And then American Sociological Review is the title of the journal where this appears, and it's italicized. If this were a book, it would be underlined or italicized. This was found in volume 51 in number 4. It was published in 1986, and you can find the article on pages 541 to 544. Now, here's the summary. It begins with an analysis of the authors. The authors, researchers at the RAND Corporation and Brown University, so that gives them accreditation, use data from the national longitudinal surveys of young women and young men to test their hypothesis that non-family living by young adults alters their attitudes, values, plans, and expectations, moving them away from their belief in traditional sex roles. Now, that is the thesis of the actual article. They find their hypothesis strongly supported in young females, while the effects were fewer in studies of young males. That's the findings of the article. Increasing the time away from parents before marrying increased individualism, self-sufficiency, and changes in attitudes about families. In contrast, and this is where you look at other articles that have already been written, an earlier study by Williams cited below shows no significant gender differences in sex role attitudes as a result of non-family living. When you create your annotated bibliography, you are to create a bibliography in MLA format, Times New Roman 12-point font. You're going to begin with your sample, with your the actual citation of the source. Then you don't have to worry about the research question yet. We'll talk about that next week, okay? Then you're going to list 6 annotations of academic sources. Underneath each annotation, you will provide a complete description that includes information about the author, a clear summary of the text, an analysis using the information I provided, an analysis of the authority and background of the author, an understanding of the audience and when sources was written, and then after creating a summary of some sort, I want you to compare and contrast this work with another that you've cited, and tell us how this illuminates the topic that you're going to be writing about. in your final research paper. Make sure that all sources are authored. You may not use any sources that are not authored for this particular assignment. And there's no dictionary or encyclopedia entries. Your assignment is due not this Sunday, but next Sunday, March 3rd at 11:59 p.m. All right, that's it for your annotated bibliography. This week, we are also going to begin reading the Log of the Snark by Charmian Kittredge London. Charmian Kittredge London was Jack London's second wife, and here you have some pictures of her. She was born November 27th, 1871 in Wilmington, California, and she died on January 14th, 1955 in Glen Ellen, California. Here she is pictured in 1900, about the time that she met Jack London for the first time. She was a well-established career woman at that time, and Charmian London was someone who did not adhere to the gender stereotypes and norms for her age. She was outgoing and adventurous. She loved to horseback ride, and at the time, women only rode side saddle. They weren't allowed to ride astride, like riding regular on a horse. And Charmian thought that was ridiculous because you couldn't actually have good balance or ride very far that way. And so she created her own, and also women only wore skirts at that time. So she created her own culottes. She sewed a skirt together, cut it in half, and sewed it into pants so she could ride her horse. And the second picture here is, this is her in Waikiki in 1912. In 1906 when they started going their Snark journey. The first stop they took was in Waikiki, and here she is on the day that she learned how to surf. She and Jack spent the day surfing at a time when really surfing was not something that most people did. It was common in Hawaii, but outside of Hawaii, most people did not surf. And then here she is in 1912 aboard the Dirigo. The Dirigo was a three-masted ship that they sailed from Baltimore around Cape Horn to Seattle, and she wrote extensively about this journey. Finally, this final picture of her is her when she was well into her 70s. She's sitting at her desk. You can see she had a pretty messy desk, but this is her working on her final book, The Log of the Dirigo, which was never published. Although I did just get some of the excerpts from this published in a recent journal. So here are some images of their Log of the Snark journey. The Log of the Snark is written about the journey that Jack London and Charmian London took aboard a yacht called the Snark, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a second. They began on April 23rd, 1907. They left San Francisco. They sailed to Pearl Harbor, Oahu, and they got there on May 20th, 1907. They sailed from Hawaii on December 6, 1907 to Nuku Hiva in the Marquesian Islands, and then they arrived in Tahiti on December 27, 1907. Then on April 5th, 1908, they went to Raiatea in Taha, and then on April 9th, 1908, they were in Bora Bora, and then on April 28th, 1908, they were in Tau in American Samoa. May 3rd, 1908, they were in Pago Pago. May 8th, they were in Apia. May 16th, they were in Savai. May 27th, they were in Suva, Fiji. On June 11th, 1908, they were in Port Resolution, Tanna in the New Hebrides. And then on June 28th, 1908, they were in Oahu, Port Anna, the Solomon Islands. Then on July 2nd, 1908, they got to Ugi in the Solomon Islands. And then their final destination was July 7th, 1908, in the Pedufrin Plantation on the island of Guadalcanal in the Solomon Islands, before they had to abandon their journey due to sickness and go back to and sail to Australia to be hospitalized. So in 1906, Jack and Charmian London began to build a 45-foot yacht on which they planned a round-the-world voyage to last 7 years. The trip was inspired by Joshua Slocum's book, Sailing Alone Around the World, which he published in 1900. And Charmian read this book in 1900, and then she went to the Pan American Fair in Buffalo in 1901 and saw an exhibit where Joshua Slocum was giving lectures and could be seen with his own boat. And she was just like completely inspired by it and wanted to travel around the world from that point on. And then when she started dating Jack, they talked about it constantly. The Snark was named after Lewis Carroll's poem, The Hunting of the Snark. The Snark had 2 masts and was 45 feet long at the waterline and 55 feet on deck. And London claimed to have spent $30,000 on her construction, which is a lot in today's terms. The ship was primarily sail power. However, she also had an extra engine that kept going out, and she had a lifeboat. After many delays, mostly due to the 1906 earthquake, which completely damaged their boat and caused a lumber shortage, Jack and Charmian London and a small crew sailed out of San Francisco Bay on April 23rd, 1907, bound for the South Pacific. Their first stop was Hawaii. Here's some pictures. This is them on the day that they sailed. Look how excited they are. This is them also in formal gear, posing for magazine and paper articles. Everybody was covering this voyage. They were celebrities at this point. Here they are again at Waikiki having so much fun. Here they are in the Pedufferin plantation having a wild party where they were cross-dressing. Here's the Snark at sea, and then here is Charmian photographing, which is something she did throughout the journey. Here she is in the Solomon Islands photographing a group of people. So this week, this is actually going to be a journal entry. And what I would like you to read is the beginning and then the log entries on pages 10 through 33. The beginning is really the background about the trip and how they came up with the idea. Why do you think, and you'll notice that the story I just told you about how Charmian came up with the idea, you'll notice that Charmian doesn't mention that she was the one that told Jack about Slocum's book. And I want you to think about why she didn't do that. Remember, Jack London was a world-famous writer at this time, and Charmian had not published anything except for a few articles. How much influence do you think she had on making the decision to go? Then I'd like you to read log entries on pages 10 through 33, and I'd like you to tell me what your first impression is. At the time, it was thought that a woman couldn't physically handle being at sea in a small yacht. In fact, everyone thought that Charmian was absolutely crazy for going to sea. Why do you think Charmian thought that she could do it? And then what does she observe while she's traveling? And then what is wrong with the boat? Why do they nickname it and why? What do they nickname it and why? All right, guys. So this is not a discussion. I know it says discussion. Sorry, that's a typo. This is going to be a journal entry. I'd like you to focus on doing active reading, so really reading, paying attention to what you're reading, and then writing in exactly what you find as your journal entries. I'd like you to think about it and use evidence from the text to support what you're saying. Finally, there is an extra credit opportunity. Every year in the spring, Napa Valley College hosts the Jessamine West Writing Contest. This is a contest where you can enter fiction, poetry, creative nonfiction, and win. If you win first prize, you get $150, second prize $100, and third prize is $50. Everybody in my class, though, is a winner. If you enter any of these genres, you get extra credit, 10 points. So please, I've posted the information about how to enter, and I'm not going to talk about it here because I've gone on way too long, but you're going to enter by April 5th. You have a lot of time something to think about. If you need writing exercises or ideas on how to write creatively, please feel free to stop by my office hours and I'll be happy to give you information. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Great job. I really look forward to seeing your reactions to our book, The Log of the Snark. If you have questions about finding resources at the library, if you have any kind of question, please don't hesitate to stop by my office hours. Again, they are on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 11 to 12:30 and from 1:30 till 3. Otherwise, I will see you online.